the second step, right, to finalize, right?
Right, but where things are dicey here is that we can only agree to some things with Caltrans. The problem is, in some cases, in terms of idling and things of that nature, it's the railroad, not Caltrans. So we can't exact an agreement with the railroad via Caltrans except to the extent the Caltrans can pressure the railroad.
Right, but that's what we're trying to set up, is that Caltrans helps us with the railroad to deal with the safety issues. Isn't that correct? That we become we're on the same side with Caltrans in dealing with the railroad. That's what we're trying to set up.
I thought the biggest issue, and I think that's what the president is pushing me. I thought that the biggest issue was the indemnification issue. But if we look at discussing that issue, but approving the LOU, coming back with a cooperative agreement, and Caltrans will work with us to deal with the issues of the operational issues with UP. They don't have nothing to do with that, but nevertheless.
Well, maybe we need the city attorney who is working on this to answer this question.
Trying.
Yeah. So when we were out in the hall,
right,
I thought that there was, if we could resolve this indemnity question, if we can resolve the indemnity question, if that's not on the table, that there was room between the letter of understanding and then the coming back to us with a cooperation agreement that we could Caltrans could help us resolve the issues with the railroad.
But actually, it's the letter of concurrence where we would like, where we have some leverage. The letter of concurrence is what Caltrans needs.
And that's not tonight, though.
Letter of concurrence is part of the letter of understanding. Once we sign the letter of understanding, we are agreeing to give Caltrans a letter of concurrence that would basically allow Caltrans to submit their application to the CPUC to concur on removing the Hanlon lead.
So that's all tonight. So we have no leverage after tonight?
Well,
that's not what you guys were saying out in the hall. So in the future, you better say what's really going on out in the hall and not here in the dais.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that was not understood out in the hall. We have not signed the letter of understanding.
But we're giving you the right to sign it.
Exactly.
Okay,
so once the letter of understanding is signed, then the letter of concurrence would then be able to be issued.
So what is this cooperative agreement?
Right. So there's a two-step process. There's the letter of understanding that Caltrans requires us to sign, which is the agreement between Caltrans and the city to actually get the money to do certain improvements. And then there's a cooperative agreement, which is a second step. We have not seen the form of the Caltrans cooperative agreement, so we aren't sure what it entails at this moment, to be honest.
Can they do this project without a cooperative agreement?
Can Caltrans do the seismic retrofit without the cooperative agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
That is really different than when I'm now going to yield my, as the mayor says, I'm yielding my time, and everybody's back in because I'm now totally lost.
President, the letter of understanding is setting out the framework for the cooperation agreement. So it would set out the key terms that would be included.
Yeah, but you have to bring, that's what you said out in the hall, right. That you have to bring that back.
No, the letter of understanding is what you'd be approving tonight. It would lay out the parameters of the cooperation agreement. And in the current version of it, upon its execution, then the city administrator would be authorized to sign the letter of concurrence.
But we could put in here that the cooperation agreement has to come back.
Oh, yes.
We already said it's coming back.
I'm just telling you that.
So that's our leverage. Why is it not?
Because the concurrence letter is really our real leverage here, and the concurrence letter, as the letter of understanding stands right now, we're giving the concurrence letter when the letter of understanding is signed.
Okay, Ms. Kernahan, you're in the queue. I'm giving up. I thought I was close.
Okay, so I know that Mr. De La Fuente has been fighting hard for his neighborhood that he represents for a year, and I have been really hoping he worked it out, but it sounds like not quite. And I think I understand. I support the general notion that Mr. Lindheim laid out tonight, that the larger, both the public safety issues, because 880 really does need to be retrofitted, and there will be other benefits too for getting on and off that freeway and widening and stuff. But the benefits of that, plus the hundreds of millions of dollars in transportation funding that would be coming to the city, to me, financially greatly outweigh the concern over getting an indemnity clause. I mean, even if we get sued, it's not going to be near that much money. So on that point, I'm going with what Mr. Lindheim is saying. What I'm, however, really confused about is the discussion you've been having about the timing of these different letters of agreement and stuff, and about what leverage the city has with Caltrans to make sure they follow through on some of their commitments to us. And I totally don't understand
Can I clarify
that part.
something? The problem is, it's not that Caltrans has to follow through. It's that the railroad has to resolve it. Isn't that correct? Isn't that the real issue?
But isn't, my understanding is that the city never has control over what the railroad does. And so if somebody, including Mr. Lindheim or, Ignacio, whoever, if you can clarify for me the stuff about what we sign when and how that might either jeopardize some of the promises that have been made. I don't get that part. But I am unfortunately okay with letting go on this indemnity clause. I think the other interests just outweigh it. And so anyway, if someone could try to straighten that out.
Mr. De La Fuente.
I think I have. I think I have.
You had a compromise?
Okay. So let me see if, and I think Mr. Lindheim is okay with this. So I will move the two resolutions, Madam Chair, to give Caltrans the letter of understanding, to approve the letter of understanding. Just they're willing to discuss the indemnity issue. The city administrator is directed to return to the council with a subsequent cooperative agreement with Caltrans, which should address the access and indemnity issues. That's what we said. And the city administrator is directed to work with the California Public Utilities Commission and the Union Pacific Railroad to address the emergency access issues in Glasscock Street. And I think Mr. Lindheim is okay with that.
Reluctantly, you can live with that. Reluctantly, you can live with that?
Yes. Not that I can live with it, but obviously I think that I agree with the concern that from the get-go we know that the retrofitting of the freeway is of major importance. At the same time, we have to make sure that Caltrans and us and everybody does everything they can to address the issues of the city.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
And I see a shaking of head that Caltrans is okay.
Just want to clarify, we are going to discuss the indemnity issue as we develop the cooperative agreement and the letter of understanding.
Correct.
Discuss. Okay.
Discuss. Mr. Reed.
I would just encourage my colleague to reach out to Senator Boxer's office. She does chair the Transportation Committee for the Senate, particularly if you're going to try to get an issue resolved with Union Pacific. And maybe you have her staff to convene the meeting where I'm sure Union Pacific will show up. Whether or not they compromise, they will show up.
Ms. Kaplan.
And so I just wanted to clarify that it's also your intention in the process of working out the second letter that we'll also then work on the parking / access / maybe
That's the whole main
items,
reason.
that will all come back to us, and that we are clearly stating our intention that we would like that to be worked out in this interim between letter 1 and letter 2, and maybe the gate or the parking, whatever they have to do, but that'll come back to us.
Yes.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Moved in second. Everyone who's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, Mr. De La Fuente. Thank you, residents, because I think we really do want to solve your issue, too.